guys, it's Kate, Zencat Vintage, and today we are shopping at a Salvation Army thrift store in Victoria, BC. This is the location on Cedar Hill Crossroad, and as you can see, it's a pretty decent sized store. There's a huge clothing section as well up at the front, but I of course am starting with my favorite, the trinkets and like the little tchotchkes. First one that caught my eye was this toucan from Panama. I thought it was stone, but it was actually really lightweight for the size of it. So I'm honestly not entirely sure what the material was. There's some nice little brass vases there. This was a little ornament. It was honestly just the elephant that caught my eye. I think it was a vintage hallmark. And then this is a chokin. It's like an Asian Japanese art form, and you find a lot of decorative pieces with these sort of like engraved metal panels on them. They do have some resale value, not crazy though. So this is one of these little this is an Elizabeth Arden. This is the Orient Express line. She had all sorts of different ones that she did, different patterns with different sort of themes. That's a little pomander. And as you can see, they don't have crazy resale value. They do sell, but for $2.99, as sweet as he was, I did leave that one behind. I checked out that little Precious Moments, and then that angel was weird. The green pallor to the skin was an interesting design choice. This was a cool piece, and I really liked this, but they had it priced at $4.99. But I thought that would have been a great display piece for, you know, like people who collect like gemstone spheres or glass balls and stuff like that. But $4.99 was a bit rich. That's cool. That is actually, it's like wrapped, like raffia or like wicker. It's an African art, I believe. Here's some more brass. I thought this flower was cool. But again, the price point for me to pick up for resale was a little high, and the condition on it wasn't the greatest. This is it's a paper mache little pig. I believe it was actually a piggy bank. That's why it has the hole in the bottom. And it was honestly super cute. I have actually sold those before. But that one was priced at $4.99, I believe, which for the condition was a little much. And then this, obviously, screaming vintage. Very cool cookie jar. That was actually a cool piece. That's something that someone looking to resell could probably have done a little something with. The condition was pretty decent. I am trying to stay a little away from kind of like bigger things and like the bigger fragile things. I just don't have the storage space for a lot of this stuff. So down here, this was a cool glass bonsai, but $19.99, and it was broken. Like the vast majority of the petals were completely like busted in half or just gone. So that obviously stayed. I'm not super into shoes, but just the right shoe, anyone that's not familiar with those, they're a definite thing to look out for and look up, because some of them do go for pretty good money. And this guy, $9.99, a very, very cool Black Panther. Everyone knows that these are like one of those quintessential vintage collectibles. That one I hummed and hawed. I have to be honest, hummed and hawed a lot. He had a lot of scratching on him, was missing an eye, which I could have replaced pretty easily. But he wasn't really one of the older ones that I personally like. I personally like the redware made in Japan ones, which he wasn't. So I do end up putting him back after carrying him around lovingly. And then the little salt shaker was very cool. I kept like a mental note of where it was, and I looked all through the store for its partner and didn't find it, so it did end up staying. Had I found its partner, even at $2.99, I probably would have snagged it. It was just so cute. The face on it was utterly like precious. This was a cool little doohickey. I'm not entirely sure what it is though. Had like a Russian lacquerware look to it though, so I'm not entirely sure what it was. Maybe a letter holder? Napkin holder? I don't know. And that little owl hook was very cool. He was just like a cast metal made in Taiwan kind of thing, but he separates into the two parts, and he was pretty cool. Here we have a pottery teapot. I believe that was $24.99 on that guy. And then these caught my eye because I've never actually seen these before. For all the McDonald's glassware I come across and have bought and have sold, I had never actually seen these ones before. These were Hawaiian themed. Really, really cool, total like 80s, I guess, design with the smoky glass. They do have resale value. For me personally, I wasn't super vibing them, so I did leave those for someone else to find. And this little egg trinket box, I really liked it, but for $3.99, I probably wouldn't get too terribly much more for it than that. Oh, that was a nice reticulated dish there. That was probably a Bavaria piece up there. The one with the little cutout holes. I hadn't been to this store in quite a while, and I was finding that the prices were a bit different than what I remember. There were still some really good prices if you're buying for personal use. This piece was nice again if you were buying for personal use. It was $8.99. Really nice looking crystal glass. It doesn't have crazy resale value though. That particular brand, not super collectible. So this was interesting. The look of it just really caught my eye, and it turns out it was actually an FTD piece, which I never would have guessed in a million years. And this was a nice little tidbit tray at $7.99 though. Had a bit of that candle wick with the little sort of spherical globs around the edge. It was a bit different though, so that did sort of stick with me a little bit. But again, $7.99 for resale, not quite where I would have to be. Now these coasters, I always love finding these coasters. They have such a cool look to them. They are so mid-century. These ones are like a tropical palm tree and sailboat scene. It's like a reverse painted on the glass, and then the glass is set in the metal, obviously. When I finally looked through all of these, there were quite a few where the paint had quite a bit of wear. On the underside, you could see like a separation from the paint and the glass, which only deteriorates and gets worse usually. So for $4.99, that was a good price, but I did end up leaving those. Now this, I may have fumbled a little bit. I was looking at these and really thinking that there should have been lids. I really felt like there should have been a lid on here. This is a creamer. Maybe no lid on that. And then this dish, again, I kind of felt like, is there meant to be a lid on here? But I have seen quite a few of these listed and sold, so that could have been a mistake. This I picked up because it looked like recycled glass, and it probably was. You can see there that's some recycled glass that I sold relatively recently. Those were the Vidrios San Miguel. Definitely worth checking recycled glass if it's marked. Anything like that, because that stuff can definitely have some really good resale value to it as well. That dish I actually thought was pottery, but it was sort of someone's like home project. They had upcycled a glass bowl. And then these two little teacups were really sweet, but they had them priced a bit high for me to sort of buy them for resale. I'd probably only sell those for, like $15 for the pair or something. I try to keep my prices pretty reasonable when when I'm listing on Etsy and eBay. So that's why I try to keep my buy-in cost a little lower if I can. This set was so cool, and I was honestly really excited to find it. I thought the carved faces on there were just absolutely like, I just thought they were beautiful, but unfortunately there was a big old crack and a break. So those guys ended up getting put back on the shelf. And then here I'm checking out some of the artwork. This, I thought someone did a really great job on. I thought that was really cool. I'm a terrible artist, so anyone that has any sort of artistic ability, my hat's off to you. This is more my speed, a paint by numbers, and even that I would probably screw up, but that was a really pretty paint by numbers. The color scheme on it was kind of unusual. It wasn't like true to life colors. There was like pinks and more like pastel colors. That's one of those copper embossed pieces, and then we got some cross stitch up there, and yeah, some nice pieces. But I do try to avoid too much big artwork because, again, I don't have the storage for it. So this little angel, she's a candle holder, made in Indonesia, I believe it was. I think it was Banatu or something like that. She had a very sort of sleek minimalist vibe to her, so that's what drew me in. This was a really pretty piece, and actually quite reasonably priced. It was $4.99. I personally do not sell these very well. I have tried, and they never move for me. So I did just leave that. And then this guy was so cool, but he was priced at $5.99. There was only one of him. Had he been a little cheaper, I would have grabbed the one, no problem. But yeah, $5.99 was a little high on him, at least for resale from my perspective. And then that was someone's very cool studio pottery piece. Now this, again, I kind of fumbled. This is actually an antique oil lamp. I was seeing them being sold as whale oil lamps. They have resale value. It was missing the top piece though, so I'm sure that would have impacted overall value, but I don't know. I think it was only, it was not terribly priced, so I probably should have figured that out before I left the store. Any Sailor Moon fans out there? Yeah, it was broken. I would have picked this up because who doesn't love Sailor Moon? The handle was severely broken though, and it had some chips. I personally am a huge fan of selling mugs. I think I've mentioned this before, but a lot of people knock selling mugs, but to me they're so easy to ship. As long as you have the right size box, just wanted like a little cube box. They're so easy to ship. They're really easy to wrap. I've never had one break in shipping. And people do buy them. Even single individual mugs I have sold for really good money. This particular brand is one that I have sold multiple times. I was super excited to see them, but they were really heavily damaged inside. Lots of crazing and staining. But that's a great brand to look up. It's Swak. And I'll put the name up of the designer. Another little Pyrex. I do often pick those up, but $2.99 was a little steep. I'll usually pick them up when they're like $1, maybe $2. But I don't usually like to spend too much more on the single Pyrex mugs. I usually only sell them for about 10 to 15, depending on the pattern, of course. This was cool for anyone that's familiar with Canadian sports. I'm really not, but I know that the Vancouver Grizzlies were a team. I knew they were a thing, a basketball team, and they don't exist anymore. They don't exist anymore. So that was kind of cool, but it had, the design was like peeling off. So however it was made, it was not standing the test of time. And then this was such a random one. Universal Studios, like, I don't get the correlation between a soup mug and Universal Studios, and that was it. And here is the quick haul.